Hey folks, it's Sam, and I'm doing this quick update, a little unexpected, but talking about the astrology of this Bedlam that just took place, that's taking place in DC now, as the joint session of Congress met to ratify the election, certify the election, but the Capitol building was stormed by protesters who are under the fevered dream that somehow Mike Pence was supposed to overturn the results of the election and I guess appoint Trump king or something. Very sad. By the way, people who like Donald Trump and don't like me saying things that are truthful, you're probably not going to like this, but either way. I'm not going to talk about him very much, but I'm not going to play into the fantasy that it's not over yet and you wait, you libs will be crying and it's going to happen. You'll see. It's not going to happen. And what we're witnessing today is exactly the thing I've been calling out since the election, which is the hysterical, fevered dreams that keep being fueled by people who don't understand how the election works, frankly don't seem to care what a free and fair election is, or what courts are, or that we have evidence and you can challenge results of an election in court when it doesn't work. You, in a democracy, respect that, but they've been fueled by the conspiracy, the fact-free conspiracy theory of mainly Donald Trump and those who are in fealty to Donald Trump, which includes disreputable lawyers like Rudy Giuliani and the other Powell and the Kraken and all these things that were going to work. None of them worked. None of them were ever going to work. The only thing that was going to work was something in a court. But now we're at the point where even yesterday, Donald Trump's vice president is trying to tell him how the law works, trying to let him know, sir, I have no authority to protest the vote. States decide votes. States run their own elections. It's why we have a state. It's why we have the separation of state and federal governments. The federal government doesn't run elections. The states do. The states ratify and certify the results. And today's event in DC was simply ceremonial. Mike Pence was more of a broadcaster than he was a judge. He wasn't doing anything. It's like if you're watching a football game, the person announcing the football game, that's pretty much what Mike Pence was in his role as the president of the Senate, was to preside over the proceedings, which means, we have these results certified. Does anybody object? Okay, you're going to object. All right, whatever. I'm not even going to get into the clown show that was behind all of that today. Again, playing into the fevered dreams and delusions and pumping them full of anger and hostility. And then we're surprised somehow that it turned into this. And they still think somehow that Trump is going to be appointed president. He's not, short of a coup. And we're not going to let a coup happen. It's not going to work. And Mike Pence must have we saw earlier today, Trump gave a speech. He showed up at this rally. He incited all of them to come, thinking that if they all show up on January 6th, now we're not going to have democracy work. Now, because all of them are there and he's going to go speak to them, that the Senate's not going to do its job. Mike Pence is not going to do his job but basically preside over a formality. Again, it would be like Pence's job. I use the example of like an announcer in a football game. It would be like if after the football game was played, and let's say, the Cowboys beat the Steelers, the announcer would have the power to say, well, I've decided that the Steelers win anyway, even though the Cowboys won. I decide that the Steelers win. It would literally be like something like that. That's how much power Mike Pence had today. He had zero power to do anything except preside. He explained it to Trump over and over again, but again, because Trump is also dumb, easily the dumbest person we've ever had as president that I've ever seen, and I couldn't imagine being more dumb. He doesn't get it, or he does get it and doesn't want to get it. He wants to pretend that he didn't actually lose, and now he's going to blame Mike Pence, blame the government, blame anybody who won't just break the law and give it to him, even though these people don't have the power to do it. The only thing that would happen if, let's say the governor of Georgia broke the law and went against his state's wishes, the only thing that would happen to Kemp in Georgia was he would be breaking the law and be subject to criminal penalty with no possibility of it even working, because we still have laws. I know it's sad for Trump to believe, but we're not a kingdom, and he's not the king. He can't just rule by edict and order people to do things. So now we're seeing the almost logical culmination of that today. The astrology here is that this is the chart, and this is DC at about 1 p.m. when they started when Congress started the session. Okay, there's a rally earlier in the day. Trump went and spoke. At one point, Trump said, "Let's march on the Capitol and set them straight," kind of thing. And this was when the session started. Okay, and as you can see, Mars has just gone into Aries about a week ago. It was the very end of January, of December. I'm sorry, let me just go back and get the exact day here. When was the end of December? Yeah, it was December 24th, I think. Yeah, 23rd. Okay, so December 23rd, Mars went. Okay, and so, I said then, now we're going to start to see frustrations boiling. In my January 2021 forecast, I talked about it was old frustrations, new beginnings and old frustrations. That's got like the theme of this month. We got a real rocky transition coming, and here we see it. So at 1 p.m. when the Congress convened and started the proceedings, we had this ascendant. The ascendant had just gone through Aries. The ascendant started in Aries at about noon. This is DC chart. So 12 noon DC, the ascendant just goes over Aries and just goes over Mars. Mars rises on the horizon. So again, you see Mars rises. If you go back and roll the tape, this is probably when Trump was finishing his speech, or when he was already angry, because what happened earlier in the day is Mike Pence released a statement before he went to the Capitol. Again, very last minute. He released a statement to the public that said, "I'm not going to do this. I have no authority to do this." Basically to Trump and to the country, saying, "I'm going to uphold my duty. That's all I can do. I don't have any authority to overturn the election. And I'm not going to do it." Again, he could have tried, and he would have just been voted out. He would have just been, if he would have said, "I'm throwing it all out," or whatever Trump thinks Pence was going to say, it would just be overruled. He would just be pulled down, and it won't work. We have laws and rules. Anyway, but he released a statement. I bet if you go back and look, it was probably around this time or a little earlier, and this probably sort of lit a match to Trump being angry. So Trump unloaded a bit, maybe, somewhat on, he was disappointed that Pence isn't going to do this. But anyway, so this was about 12 noon. Then the joint session came it was 1 p.m. that they came into session. So again, you can see at 1:06, the ascendant was like 23 of Aries, and again, Mars had just risen. Mars was now rising, even right now in DC, as it's like 6 p.m. Mars is right in the midheaven, right overhead. But then, as they started to breach the Capitol, the ascendant went into Taurus, while all the mayhem was happening. 2, 3 o'clock, you saw Rahu was on the ascendant. So when Rahu was rising, that's when they were breaching the Capitol, and there was the craziness. That was Rahu rising on the ascendant at that time, breaching the Capitol building, busting windows. And again, now they have to evacuate. They had to get Pence out of there because afraid that his rioters might find Pence, and God knows what they might do to him. So here's what you got, folks. You like it? Those of you who are like, yay, let's do it, let's steal it. It's a hoax, and it's this, and Trump is great. Okay, here's what we got. I've been saying since the election, is this what you want? You want a coup? Because this is what it's going to look like. Now they put the coup down. What's next? They're going to take over the Capitol, what, kill the Congress people, roll tanks in the streets just so Donald Trump can stay president. By the way, he doesn't seem to want to do the job. We have things happening in the country. He hasn't done a damn thing since the election but play golf and tweet about how it's a conspiracy. Why does he even want to keep being president? God knows. Well, obviously we know because of the power, but to do what? To do with it? What does he want to do with it? So again, I'm not going to unload because that should be obvious, but what I've been saying is to those who have just been supporting this, like, yeah, we're going to get it, you watch, he's going to win. Is this what you want? You want them breaking in the Capitol and this is the country? So maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is. But this is the astrology of that. And this isn't going to be a very long update. I just wanted to show the astrology of it because it's such a big moment. And we also see that Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury was in the 10th house when it started, or at least when the Congress came to session to do this, action. By the way, the inauguration chart looks a lot like this as well, except for the sun is also in Capricorn, but the rising sign on inauguration day is also Aries, because it's at noon, and it looks a lot like this on inauguration day. I'll just pull up the 20th, and I'll do a full video on inauguration day. This is inauguration, but the moon is also there. So, yeah, they got a plan for major upheaval on inauguration day. But it'll happen, and we'll get through it, and then things will get better. But this is where we are right now. And so, today, and it's also in the backdrop, the backdrop is, Trump's lunacy has cost the Senate, cost the Republicans the Senate. No one in their right mind thinks that Georgia would have lost the Senate, or that the two Georgia Democrats would have won, if it not for Trump suppressing the vote and just being a complete monster since the election. No one thought that was possible. The Republicans had it in the bag, those Senate seats, but no. So this is what winds up happening. So again, we'll see how long and to what extent these Republicans still keep licking Trump's boots. Let's see after this happens, if Josh Hawley and if these other senators and Congress people are going to get up and protest the certification of the vote. Let's see if they're still going to do it. At least Ted Cruz got to make his speech today. So let's see if they continue with this clownish behavior. Let's see if after inciting this and speaking for 2 months now about how it's been stolen from you and they're taking it from you and we need to fight back. It's not just Trump, it's all the Republicans, it's right-wing media that have been perpetuating this. No proof of any fraud ever alleged in a court. None of it, it's not even a close election. But again, we have someone just fomenting these lies and a media apparatus with no conscience anymore. Right-wing media, Newsmax, OAN, and not to mention, the Breitbarts, just the conspiratorial media. This is what they want. So I realize there are people listening to this who are going, this is what we want. Yeah, this is what we said is going to happen, and Trump's going to win, and we're going to win. Okay, let's see if you're going to win. I don't think you're going to win. So this is what it led to, and I said this is what was going to happen. I said it the last time I talked about the election. It's not over yet. He's going to do everything he can, and he's not done yet. This ain't done yet. This ain't over. But the results will be ratified, and God knows what comes next. When this doesn't work, something maybe with the military or whatever, maybe now they will finally, now that Pence's life has been threatened, Where does Pence and Trump go from here? Maybe they'll invoke the 25th Amendment. Maybe this is finally enough. Probably isn't. It's a fevered pipe dream. They can still get a few more licks on those boots for the next couple weeks, but God knows what's going to happen. But I knew it was going to happen, and I said in my forecast, he's going to do everything possible, but it's not going to work. And it hasn't worked, and it's not going to work. And there was no legal possibility that it's going to work, and there wasn't 2 weeks after the election. I knew it wasn't going to change anything. But this is the natural culmination of that. When you keep pumping BS and pouring gasoline on conspiracy, fact-free ideas, and then you invite people to come and riot on your behalf, this is what you get. So this is the astrology of it. Again, this was about 1 p.m., then 2 p.m. Again, this was when we started to see 2 to 3 p.m. DC time. We started to see them breaching the Capitol building. Now we're at 6 p.m. as I record this. We're about here, and you can see they got it under control with the ascendant being Cancer. They're getting it under control now, and it's all these planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury in the seventh house in Capricorn. So in Capricorn now, which is aspecting back on this ascendant, again, the seventh house from the ascendant is now Capricorn with all these planets. And you see that they got it under control. My feeling is that this is going to die down. I don't think it's going to keep going. I don't think it's going to be sustained for a really long time. I think people are going to stay there for a while, but they're going to have security now all around the Capitol, and we're going to perform the functions of government and the functions of democracy. And you saw right away all of these right-wingers who are protesting these results, and they know that it's with zero basis, no basis whatsoever. All of these constitutionalists who know damn well that elections are run by the states. Now all of a sudden they want the federal government to come in and tell the states how to handle their elections. I don't know if you watched this. I did watch Ted Cruz. I did watch his speech because I wanted to see to what level he would lower himself to try to make his bootlicking seem sensible or rational. And it was pathetic. It was utterly pathetic. They're all falling back on the same things of millions of Americans have serious questions about the legitimacy of this election. And we can't just ignore that. Yeah, they have serious questions because people like you have been lying nonstop since it happened. And now you're going to say we need to investigate and investigate in the Senate and the House why people are suspicious. Yeah, they're suspicious because you're gaslighting them and you're saying that it's the ultimate gaslighting. Well, they're suspicious. Why are they suspicious? Because we keep telling them to be that there's something suspicious. It's pathetic. Utterly pathetic. Again, and if you don't know why I'm saying this, the Republican Party is supposed to be about states' rights, states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. Yet Ted Cruz is going to argue in front of the Supreme Court that Texas has the right to throw out the results of Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This is Mr. States' Rights. He's going to argue in front of the Supreme Court that Texas can throw out the results of these other states. And Ted Cruz is a constitutional lawyer. He knows this. These people have no shame. The fealty, it's all to lick Donald Trump's boots to get to curry the favor of his voters. And that's what's led to this on a larger scale, because they could have repudiated these lies months ago. Every one of them knows there is no basis to protest this election. Not any basis. None of them believe this. And yet, the charade. What do they think it's going to lead to? When they see do they think it's not going to lead to a social uprising? When the people who want to believe this see everyone licking Trump's boots as he says these things, they get on TV and magnify this message? So that's where we are. As I said, we're starting 2021 with some dark times. But it gets better. It'll get better. But I just wanted to show this astrology working. Oh, the other thing too is that we also have the, I want to magnify this part a little bit. Let me make this bigger. is we also had the Tithys here. In the first part of the day, the Tithys were Ashtami. And Ashtami is one of the indicators of Ashtami, which is the 8th lunar day, is to fortify. Fortification, which shows that this is a day to fortify the castle, to fortify against enemies, against insurrection. That's what the 8th lunar day is about. So this is what the Capitol Police or whatever should have been prepared for, or should have known. If they did astrology, they know it's the 8th lunar day, and knowing that there's something planned, they need fortification. And they didn't fortify. So fortification was lacking today. And you see what happened because the fortification was lacking. The enemy of the state, which these people are now total insurrectionists storming the Capitol, but these Congress people and politicians are culpable. This is just unbelievable that it's happening in the USA. But they should have fortified the Capitol building, and there's big questions about why it wasn't fortified. When you had Black Lives Matter protesters near the White House and near the Capitol, it looked like an army out there protecting from Black Lives Matter protesters. And they were protesting a social cause. And it was about as many or maybe even less than this mob. Why wasn't the Capitol fortified? Because they were white people? Oh, they would never do that? Okay. Again, look at the fortifications in the Capitol when you had Black Lives Matter protests. And look at the fortification today and how easily they overran the barriers. So it was the 8th lunar day earlier in the day, and then it moved into the 9th day, Navami, around 4 p.m. So Navami is literally like the enemy attacking you. So you can see even with the Tithys, the 8th lunar day is a fortification against an enemy or an attack. And the 9th is the attack, is often an attack. It's ruled by Sarpa, or the serpent energy, and it's about poison and transforming the poison. And so right now, this is what we need to be doing. We need to see. I think if there's a positive quality to this, I think that the sane, rational people who were thought that there was no repercussions for all this madness since Election Day, maybe they're seeing the consequences of their actions. That this isn't a game. This isn't a game. You don't incite people like this. And when we have a president who is just an inciter-in-chief, and not even for any purpose. He's not even inciting people to anything great. He's inciting people to serve him and what he wants and to keep him in power. That's the only thing he cares about. He's happy to incite people, to inflame others, to attack anyone who dares question his omniscience and omnipotence. And he'll gladly incite the world to fight on his behalf. Well, maybe there's a lot of people that went along with this because they happen to like Trump or some politically expedient manner. Well, this is the result. And maybe this is the only way to transform the poison, is to look at this ugliness and say, is this what we want? Is this one man or whatever you think he represents worth this? Whatever it is you think he did that was so great, that was so worth upending democracy for? Because that's what it is. So, hopefully, and it's my feeling, that this can be and should be a catalyzing event where you're going to have people that do this stuff, but this becomes a moment of utter condemnation for those advocating this kind of insurrection. And those sane Republican Trump supporters who just like him because of this or that or whatever, which, by the way, I think that's most. I think people that are driven by this kind of fanaticism are a very, very, very small portion of the pie. But the rest of the people that have maybe, say, yeah, Trump, we want him, maybe are starting to wake up a little bit and go, ugh, man, this guy is really like a dictator. Oh my God, this is just not right. He's really harmful for the country. And we need to move past this. So as dark as this can seem, this is also has that quality. By the way, wait a minute, where is it? No. Auriga Brooks, unsubscribing. This guy's an idiot. Please unsubscribe. And anyone else who thinks what I'm saying is idiotic, please go. That's fine. So, like I said at the beginning, in my January 2021 forecast, it's new beginnings. And we just saw yesterday. Again, whether you think it's good or bad, the Senate is flipped. Now we're going to have Democratic majority, at least the tie-breaking vote with the Democrats. Whether you think it's good or bad, I will say at the very least, we won't have Mitch McConnell blocking votes, as he's done nothing but even block votes. And it's just around his Republican whim. So at least we'll probably get to vote on things like whether or not we should get $2,000 stimulus checks or whatever else might happen. You might think that's a good thing, you might think it's a bad thing, but at least there's change. So like I said in my January 2021 forecast, new beginnings, old resentments, and we're seeing this boil over. We're going to get past it. The astrology, I think, is fascinating and interesting. And I mainly wanted to pull out these qualities of this ascendant right after Mars rises. And then the ascendant continues through Aries as the tensions build and boil. This is when the Senate came to session, or when the joint session happened at like 1 p.m. And then by the time it went into Taurus, they started breaching the building, and you had all that Rahu chaos for a couple hours. Then it started to calm down again when it went into Gemini, and now, again, we're like 6:15 DC time, and they're getting it somewhat under control here with the Cancer. But I think we'll deal with this for a few days, maybe at least through tomorrow. Again, we also have the moon the next few days. This is not, when you look at the whole thing, the moon is going to return. It's going to be debilitated on the 10th. Again, the 9th and 10th, the moon is now going in the debilitated state, which is also Trump's debilitated natal return, because it's also joined his Ketu moon. These could be some dangerous days. Very dangerous days for us and for him. I'll just leave it at that as far as that goes. But again, here we are. And we're trying to get past something, which we are going to get past it. And then we move on to the next thing. So you can get my 2021 forecast. I talked about the year, the overview of the year, and certainly expected that this first part would be difficult and tricky. And so let's see what happens. I hope I'm right about it not dragging on for a really long time, especially people in DC for a long time, but let's see. Who knows? I don't think that'll be the case, but this Mars going through Aries could show, and by the way, I did say this for this whole month of January and into the middle of February, a lot of tension and frustration and social unrest, potentially boiling over, and potential violence. Not hard to make that prediction, but we're seeing it come out. So I'll just I'm not going to have a really long, check in here today. I just wanted to show this astrology and make a quick update and let you see this and pray for us all. Things, we're going to get through it, but this is what we're seeing. And this is the karma that we have, and all these planets happening in Capricorn, which is coming up in the next month. We're going to be bearing the brunt and the result of these things and having to get through a lot of things together. So you take care.